a confession. I hate hope. Now, that's going to sound weird. It even sounds weird as I say it. Having lived with a mental illness for a number of years, I've learned to avoid conversations around hope. When people ask me, what is the hope in my mental illness? I will avoid that question like the plague. Why? We're going to talk about that today on STP Shattered, the podcast. If you like our podcast, don't forget you can support us financially through Patreon. I'm also putting all the links to my book below. STP, it's Shattered, the book.
Welcome to Shattered the podcast,
sharing the lived experience of mental illness on
A father,
a mother.
a family.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I was in a meeting just the other day and I was talking about a certain word. I was actually talking about growth and how much I hate it. And in as much of it being part of your mental health journey. And I don't want to go into that today. But I looked across at somebody and when I said, I hate the word growth, he said, it's probably like hope. He, like me, hates hope. Now, I know I've said it before, but it sounds incongruous, even when I'm saying it. So, what is hope? Hope is the idea that things will, if not be better, will be perhaps more complete. You will be more happy. You will have more contentment. Hope is the idea that there is something to look forward to. A chance that your tomorrow is going to be better than your today. Now that should be the one and only reason why I should need to tell you why hope is so desperately hard for a person with a mental illness, because there is no tomorrow. Your mind is caught in a loop of suffering and it's all about the now. Now I feel this. Now I feel that. What about tomorrow? What about tomorrow? A person drowning in the ocean. They're drowning and you paddle up in your boat to them and you talk to them about how exciting dinner's going to be when you get them back to the ship while they're trying to keep their head above water. It's the wrong place. It's the wrong time. You need to pull them into the boat and then you can start talking about the meal, the fun that they're going to have on the ship. So there's a number of factors for me that I've been able to nail down about why I hate hope. Not only because while I've been drowning, it's felt like there's been people in the boat, in the lifeboat, looking at me who could help me and pull me out of the water, but they're busy talking about how much fun I'm going to have when I get back on land. Oh, it's so great. We've got all this food. So I don't care about that. I just want to breathe. I want to not be swallowing water. It's funny because drowning is such an apt metaphor for mental illness. There was a time in my youth. It was a stormy day in Sydney and I swam out beyond the breakers at a beach called Mona Vale Beach. I got caught in a rip for just a couple of minutes, because if you know about a rip, it's pulling you straight out to ocean. All you got to do is swim sideways and you're out of it. But the thing was, I was exhausted. I'd swum out of the rip. I was potentially safe. Now, it was a stormy day. The lifesavers had all packed up and gone home, except for a couple that were just sitting on the beach. Now, I put my arm up to ask for help, which is the standard thing that you do. And for whatever reason, they ignored it or they didn't see it. I would imagine they probably didn't see it. What then, for me, became one of the longest and hardest journeys of my life was swimming back to the beach. Tide was going out. I was getting pulled out. The waves weren't going the direction I needed them to. It was exhausting. And it was a minute by minute struggle. I wasn't thinking about tomorrow. I wasn't thinking about 5 minutes. All I was thinking about was keeping my head above the water. How apt that is for a person with mental illness. And you might look at that person and they might not look like they're drowning. They might not look like they're struggling at all. And you're talking about all the good things that are going to happen to them and for them and about them and around them. And it's not that it doesn't make an impact, it's that it can't make an impact because they're so consumed with the moment. So when I'm in that mode of really struggling and somebody says, oh, think of the better things. Aren't you excited about our trip that's coming up? Why aren't you just glad to be alive? For me as a Christian, hope is integral. There's a verse in the Bible that says that faith is the evidence of things hoped for. You hope so much in it that you believe it. You have faith in it. I have come that you might have hope and hope everlasting. So even on religious grounds, I feel like I'm not making the grade because I don't have that hope. Whatever that hope is supposed to be, whatever it's supposed to look like. So let's talk about some of the reasons specifically why hope can be a dirty word. It's elusive. You see it everywhere, but you can't touch it. It's like a fly in the lantern. It can go anywhere at once. It can do everything it needs to do, and you're trying to squash it. You're chasing it all around the place, and for some reason, you just can't get it. It's frustrating. It's weird, but that's how I feel about hope. It's an annoying thing. It's like a fly. But it is. It's elusive. You see it everywhere. Every TV show, every commercial, every conversation that you have, listen to it. There's always something in there about hope. What are you doing on the weekend? Have you got big plans for the weekend? How's things going? How's everybody doing? But when you can't even feel or touch the hope, that day that I was drowning at Mona Vale Beach, oh, spoiler alert, I survived. I wasn't thinking about what I was going to do when I got back to the sand. All I was thinking about was getting onto firm ground to get to a place where I'm not drowning. And it wasn't a destination, and it's not like I was hoping that I was going to make it, because for a while I thought I wasn't going to. Quite literally thought, this is it. I'm just going to keep swimming until the strength fades out of my body, and then I'll be carried out to sea, a dead body, a guy that just went missing. There was no hope about reaching the shore. The shore was not a fantasy. It wasn't a destination. It wasn't something I was looking forward to. It was just I wanted to be in a place where I could stand on my own 2 feet and I wasn't drowning. Now, on that day, It was elusive. The beach was there, but then the waves were coming in. They were crashing around me. I was taken under the water. Knew where I wanted to go. Didn't know how I was going to get there. But I just kept trying. It was no thought of, oh, what am I going to have for dinner tonight? Oh, might get some fish and chips on the way home. That sounds great. It was no. All I have to do is just get to the sand. The absence of hope is crushing. Depression feels like a weight on your entire body. Again, the drowning analogy works because my body was so tired that all I wanted to do was give up. I just wanted to stop. I was getting seawater in my mouth. I was breathing it in. I was drinking some of it. I was sputtering. I was coughing. And that's what it's like when you see hope in others and you realize that you're not going to be able to touch it or taste it or be part of it. There's a famous story. It's used for analogies in a lot of ways. An immigrant, let's say a German, in the early 1900s, booked himself a ticket on a ship, and he packed enough food for the journey, 10, 12 days, whatever it was. For the most part, it was crackers because it was all he could afford. But every day he would walk past all of the dining halls on this ship, and he would look in and he would think how wonderful it was, that how wonderful it would be if he could just get some of that food, how much better it would be rather than going back to his cabin and eating dry crackers and canned food. On his second to last day, he's standing outside the door, and a waiter comes up and says, "Mate, I've seen you every single day outside the door. Why don't you come in and have some food?" And the guy said, "Oh, I can't afford to come in and buy the food." And the waiter says, "Mate, the food's included with your ticket." Many, many parallels that you can draw out of that story. The one I would like to draw out is that feeling of standing on the outside, of looking in through a window and watching people have something that you should be entitled to. You should be able to ask for and claim that thing. But for whatever reason, you can't. You know, in this analogy, of course, it was ignorance. And it's often used as a story of, why didn't you just ask? I think about that imaginary man a lot, looking through those windows, realizing or seeing everybody with all this food, this cornucopia of food that changed every day, the meals, realizing that I'm going to go back to my cabin and I'm going to have some crackers and some baked beans. It's an apt description for what it feels like when you don't have hope. You know it's out there. You felt it before. But for some reason you know that hope isn't for you. And that thought is crippling. It's devastating. One thing about hope that I hate is that it seems to taunt you. When you're outside the restaurant window looking in, thinking that you can't go in. It feels like what's going on inside is mocking you. It's pointing at you and going, look what you don't have. It seems to be a tangible presence saying, look what you could have, but not you. Everybody else can have some, but not you. Man, that's a thought that has haunted me at times. Not only when somebody comes up to you with great news about something, but when you hear just anything. Somebody with a plan, somebody with a destination, somebody that's doing something, somebody that looks happy. Their life is fulfilled. And of course, nobody is completely fulfilled, and it's not money or possessions that give you that. And a person with mental illness knows that, because if I won $100 million tonight, I know that I would still be struggling with my mental health tomorrow morning. It would not change a thing. It would take some concerns away, absolutely, but it wouldn't change how I feel, wouldn't change my mindset, wouldn't change my outlook. And again, it just feels like it's mocking you. All right. I want to try and get positive. How do you find hope? I guess you could also ask the question, what is hope? It's integral. And the honest reason is, I don't know. I guess if I knew that, I'd write a best-selling book, How to Have Hope, guaranteed. My hope came in the worst possible moment of my life. I was in an ambulance. I was being taken to the hospital. I was covered in pepper spray. I was, I'd OD'd. I figured I was either dying or I was going to jail for the rest of my life. Because in my mind, I had killed the guy that attacked me. I hadn't, of course. He wasn't even there. It was a psychotic break. Right there, in a flash, my hope came to me. And as strange as it may seem, it was my wife. It was this beautiful, gorgeous redhead who'd given me two children. Yeah, two children by that stage. All I wanted to do was be at home with her. And it was at that moment that I realized what hope could look like. Again, it was hope denied because I thought I was dying or going to jail. Over the next couple of days, when I was sitting with the psychologist, psychiatrist, and they said, your wife doesn't want you to come home, I had nothing to live for. I had nothing. There was no reason for me to live at all. Thankfully, my wife, sitting right next to me, said, whoa, 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 whoa. That is not what I said. I believe she held my hand and said, "You're coming home with me. I just can't have you doing anything like this again." I don't know where your hope will come from. Sometimes it's the hope that you can see in the progress that you've made. If I've made this much progress, maybe I can make a little bit more. I don't know where your hope is going to come from. I don't know how to give you hope. I wish I did. I honestly wish I did. I wouldn't sell that book. I would give it away. But there is something. There is something. Someone you know, something you like, something you love. For me, it was identifying that. And it was only through my suicide attempt that I really realized it. The moment I thought I was going to die, it's the moment I realized I didn't want to die. Look, the journey to hope is long, it's complicated, and it's scary. But I've learned that hope is not a destination. It's not a place that you go to. Hope is the journey. The journey that perhaps I can do things today better than I could yesterday. The journey that I'm doing the things that I need to do to make me healthy. Someday it's going to click. Maybe it is a person. Maybe it is a place. Just as soon as you can, find it. Make it attainable. I'm not suggesting you go out and be a stalker. Just find whatever it is. And try to cling to it. But realize that nobody's going to give it to you. But it's something that is your right as a human being. It's your birthright, if you'd allow me to put it that way. You have the capacity and you deserve to have hope. I want to thank everybody that listened to today's episode. Don't forget, my book is available. Shattered the book. All the links will be below. It's getting a reduced price in the next day or so. I do hope you'll check it out. Have a great week. I will talk to you again soon. Hopefully, depending on the fact that all of us in my house have got COVID now, we might do a marriage and mental illness this week. We'll see how we go. Have a great week, everybody. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to Shattered the podcast. I'd like to thank our producer, Meredith Brosnan, our executive producer, Torian Lau, and the band Adelaide for allowing us to use their song as our theme. Go to shatteredthepodcast.com for more information.